Today I'm going to talk about game camera preparation and setup. Sometimes things go right by accident. With some pre-planning, good quality game camera pictures can be consistent. High quality pictures may have great colors, unique animal interactions, they may depict interesting behavior, or simply be cute. Game cameras are great scouting tools, or they can be a fun sport in and of themselves. Here are a few pictures that I thought turned out real well this year. Let's look at some factors that should be considered when preparing to set cameras up in the field. Now we're going to talk about game camera setup. Getting ready to take 3 game cameras up to the Arctic and put them out. I'm going to put them out for predators. See if we can catch some predators doing something cool. Before I take them out though, I'm going to wipe them down with a scent wipe just to get all the human scent off of there. There's really no point in taking your game cameras out, putting them out somewhere, having them smell like humans, and then maybe animals avoid them for a few weeks or begin to avoid that area altogether. And so we want to get our stuff clean before we put it out. So I'm going to wipe these down, put them on this plastic, and I'm just going to let them air dry before I put them away into the Ziploc bags so that they remain clean the whole time. This is a new game camera I bought this year. I put it out. Got some pretty good pictures on it. I think it was. Next year I'm going to put this camera out and put it on just video mode. See if I can get some really good video shots of moose. While those are air drying, let's talk about a couple other things. Whenever I go out in the field to put game cameras out, I always want to make sure that I take a saw and a pair of pruning shears, and maybe even a hatchet. And what I'm trying to do there is I want to clear all the brush out in front of my cameras so that I get a good clean camera angle, camera shots, and also you don't want anything in front of your camera moving back and forth and setting off the trigger and getting literally thousands of pictures of moving brush. And I've done that. When I put a camera in the field, I like to consider, why would an animal use this route to travel? The first location that comes to mind is over bait. A well-established bait station will bring in a lot of animals. The next location I like to consider is along established trails. Some game trails are very obvious, and others may be rather subtle. I found this game trail because there was a path through the trees. A visible ground trail did not show itself until late in the season. The best time to look for game trails is late in the fall, once the vegetation is no longer growing and animals have had time to beat the brush down into a noticeable trail. My current game camera setup is along natural corridors or funnels. I set this camera up in a location where a game trail intersected a corridor, so I got a 2-for-1.
The next consideration is camera mounting.
The other thing to think about when you're getting ready, when you're buying a game camera, getting ready to put it out, is how am I going to stick this thing out in the field? So they all come with a belt, so you can put them directly to a tree, and then people jam sticks or wedges in behind them. They also make little mounts. This is a really simple mount that you can screw into a tree. I've covered this end for transportation purposes, but it's super sharp, so it can get into a tree, and it's got a screw on it, so you just screw it in. And then once it's in, you can mount your camera here and twist it back and forth different ways to get the angle that you want. Something that you want to make sure you do out in the field is, once you put your camera where you think you want it, let it run, go out in front of it, take a couple pictures of yourself, and make sure that it's where you want it to be. It's pointing at where you want it to point. You'd hate to end up getting half pictures of things or have it point in the wrong direction. The other device that I have is I have this stake that you can drive into the ground. You can put a camera on top of it here, and it gives you about, if you get it, 6 or 8 inches into the ground or a foot into the ground, it's going to be at 2 feet off the ground. There are some times that you might want that angle, and there are other times that that's not a very good angle. We'll talk a little bit about angles of pictures a little bit later on. The other thing that I have going on here is I have some lock boxes, and this year I'm going to put some cameras in areas that could get human traffic, and so I'm going to go ahead and put them in a lock box, and that way I make sure that when I go back they're still there. Some of the areas that I put cameras are so remote that nobody's ever going to find them, and I really don't worry about that.
This camera was placed along the intersection of a corridor and a trail. It has proved to be a great location. This camera mount failed, but did provide 3 months of great quality pictures, and a couple of lucky pictures after it failed. Game camera height is another important factor in collecting good pictures. A camera placed too low may capture pictures that are undesirable or miss great opportunities. I generally try to place my cameras at animal eye level or a little higher. This ensures a good field of view and generally provides quality pictures. When I place game cameras in the field, I try to be mindful of the direction of sunlight coming into the camera. Sunlight directly behind an animal will wash out your primary subject. Wind direction is also something you should keep in mind. Wind can blow water and snow into your lens and blur pictures. Before I wrap this video up, I'd like to share an interesting story about a moose calf that I've watched for the past 2 summers. In the summer of 2018, Moosey, a lone moose calf, moved up out of traditional moose territory to take up residence in the lower reaches of sheep country. In thousands of pictures, I never saw another moose, so I assume she somehow survived a predation event that took her mother's life. Orphaned and cute, she spent the summer of 2018 lounging in front of my game camera and somehow avoiding several bears in the area. I did not get a single picture of another moose until the rut, when 2 lone bulls came up to visit. I assume she must have smelled attractive, and they ventured up to meet her. Shortly thereafter, she disappeared. Then, to my surprise, in the summer of 2019, a small, yearling cow showed up in the same area. There is no doubt that it was Moosey. She got off to a rough start in life and was now small for a yearling. She spent the summer of 2019 in the same area, and I captured many pictures of her. Again, there were several bears in the vicinity, but I believe she survived the summer. I will place a game camera in this area again in 2020 and hope to see her with a calf this summer. Stay tuned, and don't forget to subscribe.